She gave up everything for her bankrupt husband, but at 3 a.m., she discovered a shocking secret. In the dead of night, when the world held its breath, Charlie stood frozen at the edge of the darkened kitchen, heart hammering against her ribs. The clock blinked ominously. 3 a.m., synchronizing with the pounding of her anxious heart. The house creaked as if whispering secrets, but her husband Steve lay in their bedroom, deep in a slumber that masked the turmoil brewing just beneath the surface. She had sacrificed it all for him, her career, her savings. Deep down, she felt the weight of all her choices pressing down like a heavy stone. The muted glow of her phone screen suddenly illuminated the dark room, revealing a strange notification that sent chills racing through her veins. It was a message, yet not a message, just a single cryptic word. Help. It appeared again and again, a digital ghost haunting her, pulsating with urgency. Who sent it? For a moment, she thought she could feel the air thicken, charged with electricity as if the walls were closing in. The hairs on her neck bristled and her breath hitched. She thought about her husband, the man she had given everything to. Was he hiding something even darker? The walls bore witness to her unraveling thoughts. She paced into the living room, the coffee table littered with unopened bills and lost dreams. An unsettling thought crept in. Was everything they had built together a facade? Just then, a sharp cry pierced the silence, a sound too familiar. Charlie jumped, her fingers trembling as she clutched her phone tighter, as if it could shield her from whatever was lurking in the shadows. She grabbed the phone and stared at the screen, its bright light amplifying her fear. A message pinged. It wasn't from someone she recognized. It was a stranger. You need to look closer. It read before it's too late. And then there was silence. Just the kind of silence that fills your ears with ringing. Charlie felt a lump form in her throat, and her eyes darted to the bedroom door. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The moment she heard the floor creak behind her, her heart stopped. Steve was awake. She turned just in time to see the faint outline of him, the shadow of the man she thought she knew, creeping into her line of sight. This was no ordinary midnight awakening. His face was twisted in a way that sent a shiver crawling down her spine. What was hidden behind that sleepy gaze? A memory? A lie? Charlie, what were you doing up? His voice was low, smooth like honey, but she sensed an edge. Something was off. He didn't just sound confused. He sounded nervous, maybe even scared. Did you send me the message? Charlie's voice trembled, her heart racing in an uneven rhythm. She felt like she was teetering on the edge of a precipice, and just a moment longer would send her tumbling down. What message? His eyes darted, and the tension fed the silence between them like simmering fire. Charlie felt her breath quicken as the truth loomed like a dark cloud over them. There was more to discover. And when dawn broke, would everything change? Charlie felt the room constrict around her, the weight of the moment pressing down like a lead blanket. Steve shifted, crossing his arms, a defensive gesture that didn't escape her notice. Was she imagining the tense energy sparking between them? Why are you looking at me like that? He asked, irritation rising in his voice. Her stomach twisted. Because I received a message. It said help. And then another one from a stranger. It said I need to look closer. She couldn't stop the tremor in her voice. What had once seemed like a comfortable life now felt like a fragile glass, poised to shatter. Steve turned his head. A flicker of something crossing his face. Was it fear? Anger? Maybe it's a prank, he said too carefully. His eyes narrowed as if searching for a lie on her face. A prank? At 3 in the morning? The words spilled out, sharp and accusatory. She stepped forward, defiance igniting her fear. You know more than this. Stop. Just stop, he shot back, raising a hand. His voice fell to a whisper, filled with urgency. You shouldn't be doing this right now. You need to trust me. A hollow laugh escaped her. Trust? Hadn't she trusted him enough already? Every sacrifice she made for their marriage flashed like a slideshow in her mind, moving to a new city, changing jobs, draining her savings. And for what? She hesitated, torn. Would probing this deeper bring the truth to light or expose her to something darker than she'd ever imagined? She searched his face for answers, but all she saw was a mask, perfectly still. Just as she turned to leave, something caught her eye, a glimmer from the corner of the room, like a shadow writhed in the air. What was that? Charlie jerked her head back, fear colliding with instinct. Nothing. It's nothing, Steve replied too quickly, panic seeping into his voice. He moved toward her, but she stepped back. No, I can't just ignore this. What is happening, Steve? The palpable tension stretched thin, ready to snap. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed loudly against the countertop, shattering the silence. They both turned to look, and her heart raced, an instinctual warning rising within. He reached for it, hesitating, the muscle in his jaw tightening. Don't. Charlie breathed. Let me see it. No. He snatched the phone and turned away, body rigid. It's mine, just mine. You don't need to see. Who is it? The question hung in the air, thick and suffocating. With every second of his silence, the mystery grew, wrapping Charlie in a shroud of desperation. Is it someone connected to that message? What are you hiding? Stop this, Charlie. You're overreacting. He turned to face her, his eyes darkening, shadows dancing across his face. But what if it's real? Her voice broke, tears threatening to spill. What if someone else hurt? Or in trouble? Or worse? Something flickered in Steve's expression. A brief but telling lapse. Was it guilt? His defenses faltered, just for a moment, and Charlie felt her pulse quicken. Then his phone buzzed again. This time he shoved it into his pocket, the movement abrupt and harsh. She bristled at the refusal. Steve, if you want to tell me, just stop. This isn't the time for this, he snapped, his voice a whip that stung like ice against her skin. But Charlie couldn't let it drop. Every instinct screamed at her to push harder. Something was horribly wrong. She needed to know the truth. As she formed her next question, suddenly the lights flickered, plunging them into darkness. Charlie. His voice was barely a whisper now, tinged with fear. Stay here, she said, sensing a shift in the air. Panic coursed through her veins. She needed to find the source. I'm going to get the flashlight. As Charlie moved cautiously towards the hallway, her heart thundered against her ribcage. In the quiet, the weight of secrets felt almost tangible, wrapping around her like cold fingers. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the direction of their bedroom. Steve! She called urgently, her heart racing as she spun back around. But he wasn't where she'd left him. The shadows wrapped tightly around her, deepening the dread in her gut. Had he gone back inside? Or had he vanished? Charlie had a sinking feeling that whatever darkness she was about to uncover would change everything she thought she knew. What lay waiting on the other side of this night? And just as she took a deep breath to push herself forward into the unknown, a soft, familiar voice whispered from the darkness. Help! Who was it? And what did it mean? Charlie's pulse raced, her instincts screaming as she stood frozen in the darkness. The soft whisper help sounded hauntingly familiar, like a ghost clawing through the veil of night. Who's there? She called out, her voice trembling as it mixed with the oppressive silence. The air felt thick, as if the darkness was pressing against her skin, urging her to turn and flee. But she couldn't. What if someone needed her help? Another crash echoed from the bedroom, sharper this time, rattling the remaining shards of her courage. Charlie hesitated, casting a glance over her shoulder. She wrestled with the urge to run but kept her feet planted, heart thundering. Steve? She called again, her voice now tinged with desperation. If this is a joke, it's not funny. No response. Just silence, deep and foreboding. She took a deep breath and edged closer to the bedroom door, her heart pounding so loudly she could hardly hear her own thoughts. As her fingers grazed the wall, she felt a shiver crawl down her spine. The darkness seemed to pulse around her. In the corner of her mind, a tiny voice recommended backpedaling, but another voice, fiercer and bolder, urged her to uncover the truth. With a sudden flick of resolve, she pushed the bedroom door open, and it creaked ominously, like the wail of a dying breeze. The room was a black abyss, every familiar piece of furniture swallowed by shadows. She fumbled for her phone, its screen glowing faintly as she turned it on, illuminating the room with a weak light. That S when she saw him. On the floor, Steve was sprawled awkwardly, one arm twisted beneath him. Steve! Charlie rushed to his side, the panic clamoring in her throat. She knelt beside him, shaking his shoulder gently. Steve! Wake up! His eyes fluttered open, confusion flooding his face. Charlie! He slurred, blinking against the harsh light of her phone. What happened? Are you okay? She felt helpless, spirals of fear wrapping around her. I think I tripped, he muttered, but there was something off in his tone. The words felt clumsy, half-formed and unconvincing. Tripped? On what? Charlie's instincts flared, every nerve ending alive to the tension swirling around them. The floor was bare, nothing to trip over except his phone. It lay in the corner, screen cracked, lit up with the new incoming message. Let me see that, she said, and before he could protest, she grabbed the phone, her heart thumping like a war drum. As the screen lit up, her stomach twisted into knots. The message flashed across her vision, a frantic request from an unknown number. She's in danger. Trust no one. Look closer. What does that even mean? Steve's voice was shaky, a hint of something darker lacing his despair. Are you really hurt, Steve? Or have you been hiding something? She pressed, adrenaline coursing through her veins. You heard it too. Did you say help? Is someone else in trouble? His eyes darted, panic settling in. Charlie, I swear I didn't know about this message. I just needed to take a break. All this pressure, his voice cracked, revealing the cracks in his facade. Stop lying. She shouted, the raw fear now transforming into anger. I should have trusted my instincts. Just then the room plunged back into darkness. The light from the phone flickered and died, swathed in black once more. Charlie! He shouted, his voice laced with desperation. Please don't go. But she had to discover what lay hidden in the shadows, what dark truth lingered behind his every word. Though she was terrified, taking a step to the door felt like facing the darkness head-on. Get up. We're finding answers together. Just as she began to leave, a loud crash echoed from the living room. Instinctively, she spun to face it, dread pooling in her stomach. Then a chilling voice, different from Steve's, broke through the silence. You shouldn't have come here. Charlie froze, every hair on her body standing on end. Now who else was in the house? And why did it feel like an inescapable trap was closing in around her? Charlie's breath hitched in her throat, the voice chilling her to the bone. She strained her ears trying to locate the source, but the oppressive blackness swallowed everything. Panic surged through her again, stronger this time, as she felt the weight of the unknown creeping closer. Who's there? She demanded, forcing the quiver from her voice. But no answer came, only a suffocating silence that felt sinister. Steve's voice trembled behind her, uncertainty stitching his words together. Maybe we should just go where? She snapped, cutting him off. We can't run from this. She pieced together the fragments, the message, the crash, Steve's avoidance. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. With gritty determination, she stepped toward the living room, every inch of her screaming to turn back. She flicked her phone back on, the light dim but functional. The faint glow trembled as she moved forward, revealing shadows that danced along the walls, mocking her fear. A nearby frame crashed to the ground, shattering the uneasy stillness. Charlie's heart raced. Steve, stay close. She whispered urgently. She couldn't shake the feeling they weren't alone, but what choice did she have? Either confrontation or truth awaited her as she crossed the threshold. The light illuminated the room just enough to reveal the scattered remnants of her life. Knickknacks lay in disarray, a sign of a struggle, and her stomach twisted in dread. But her focus sharpened on a figure in the corner. Who are you? She breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure emerged from the shadows, a gaunt man with hollow eyes that seemed all too familiar. Charlie, he whispered, sounding almost pained. You don't recognize me? Get back. She shouted, harder now, her eyes wide as fear coursed through her veins like a venomous rush. What do you want? Listen to me, he said, raising his hands in a non-threatening gesture. But Charlie knew better than to trust appearances in a moment like this. I didn't want you to find out this way. Find out what? Charlie pressed, her pulse thumping violently in her ears. Who are you? Your husband, he paused, sorrow etched across his features. He has been keeping secrets. Serious ones. Stop, Steve yelled, his words mingling with Charlie's heartache. You don't know what you're talking about. The man took a step closer, his gaze locked on Charlie. I know what he's involved in. I know what he's hiding, and it's dangerous. Charlie's mind raced. Could this stranger be speaking the truth? Could Steve really be hiding something? Trust battled against suspicion. Before she could respond, a violent crash shook the walls again, a reminder that time was running out. The lights flickered, a harbinger that the darkness was ready to swallow them whole. Get out! Steve shouted, desperation cracking his voice. We have to leave now. But before she could make a decision, the stranger gripped her wrist tightly and whispered urgently, You have to trust me. They know you're here. If you stay, I won't let you take her. Steve growled, his voice rough and deepening the tension. In that moment, Charlie felt the gravity of their peril. The fork ahead was no longer just about seeking answers. It had twisted into survival. Then a new sound emerged. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, growing louder in the darkened hallway. The intruder's eyes widened. They're here. Charlie's heart dropped. Fight or flight. Choices narrowed into a single thought: escape. Run! She screamed, her feet moving before her brain could catch up. A moment of chaos ensued as she launched herself toward the door, the man's presence trailing her like a shadow. Steve followed, but the way out was uncertain. Confusion swirled as she felt a surge of adrenaline anew as they burst into the night. The only clarity was a single question hammering in her mind. What have we gotten ourselves into? Behind them, a sinister voice echoed through the dark, lingering like smoke. You think you can escape? A fresh wave of fear washed over her, and as the night stretched on, she feared they'd awaken something monstrous. What truth awaited them just beyond the dark? And who were they really running from? The chill of the night gripped Charlie as they stumbled into the open air. The weight of her decision settled on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. Behind her, the familiar silhouette of her home loomed ominously, now a cage full of secrets. She could still hear that chilling voice, echoing in her mind. You think you can escape? Which way? Steve's voice sliced through her panic, breathless and frantic. The gravel crunched under their hurried steps, but the street felt impossibly empty. The fluorescent lights glared down, illuminating their glassy expressions but doing nothing to ward off the fear pooling inside. Anywhere but here, she gasped, the adrenaline rushing through her limbs. She grabbed Steve's hand tightly, feeling the sweat on his palm mimic her own. She had always trusted him, but doubt was creeping in, gnawing at her heart. What had he done? What did that man know? Charlie, he said, his voice trembling with urgency. We need to talk. I can explain. Explain what? She retorted, her voice sharp enough to cut through the tension. That you're tangled in something dangerous? That whatever secrets you've been keeping led us here? You need to tell me the truth. He opened his mouth to respond, but then his eyes widened, scanning the street. We're not safe here, he muttered, pulling her away from the glare of the streetlights. They ducked into an alley that felt suffocating, shadows stretching toward them like grasping hands. What are we running from? Charlie asked, fear spiraling in her stomach. Was it the man from her house or something worse? Steve hesitated, visibly wrestling with his words. I didn't want to get you involved in this involvement. That word echoed painfully. She had left her own life behind to support him, to sacrifice everything when he went bankrupt. And now it felt like she was stepping into a maelstrom of chaos. Cut to the chase, she snapped. Are we in danger or not? He bowed his head, submerging them in shadow. Yes, he finally choked out. He was right. They know everything. They? Who are they? A sinking feeling gripped her. The icy fingers of dread wrapped around her neck. Squeezing tightly, Steve turned, his eyes pleading. I'll explain, but we need to get somewhere safe first. This isn't just about us anymore. If they find us, they'll come for you too. Every breath felt like a precious resource as Charlie's instincts kicked in, urging her to escape this self-made nightmare. Then let us go. I'm not sitting here waiting to be found. A sudden noise shattered the tense air, a scraping sound followed by hushed voices. A chill shot through her, and she clutched Steve's arm in panic. They're here, she hissed, eyes darting around the darkened alley. Before they could think, a figure emerged at the other end of the alley, a flash of silver in the dark. Her heart raced as the figure walked closer, and the soft glow of a phone illuminated the face of a woman with sharp features and piercing eyes. "Thought you could run?" the woman said, her voice dripping with malice. Charlie's breath hitched. Something told her this woman wasn't just any pursuer. "Run!" she screamed, yanking Steve with her as they dashed deeper into the shadows. "Where?" he shouted, his voice strained with urgency. "I don't know." She felt a wild surge of panic, but their escape was nearly obstructed by a shadow. They stumbled back against the cold brick wall, breaths shallow and quick, desperate to formulate a plan. The woman's laughter echoed chillingly. "You're not the first to try to escape. And trust me, you won't be the last." Charlie felt terror radiate through her veins, turning her limbs to lead. As they turned to flee again, the alley stretched before them like a dark labyrinth, twisting with uncertainty. "What now?" Steve whispered, glancing over his shoulder, dread pooling in his eyes. "We need to find a place they won't expect," Charlie managed, adrenaline buzzing in her ears. But in that very moment, she wondered if there was truly any safe place left. What other secrets lingered out there, waiting in the shadows? And would they uncover the truth of Steve's past before it swallowed them whole? As they crouched behind the wall, the harsh sound of the woman's laughter echoed hauntingly off the bricks, sending shivers down Charlie's spine. For a brief moment, time felt suspended, a heavy silence smothering any sound. The only thing she could hear was her heart, pounding furiously against her ribcage, as if it were trying to escape. "We can't stay here. She'll find us. We have to move," Charlie whispered fiercely, clutching Steve's arm tighter, as if it were a lifeline in the madness that surrounded them. "Where?" His voice was laced with desperation. "We just can't keep running blindly." She flicked her gaze left and right, adrenaline mixing with fear, frantically attempting to survey their dim surroundings. An idea struck her. "The old bookstore. It's not far from here. It's closed. We can hide there." "Are you sure?" Steve shook his head, the panic evident in his wide eyes. "They could be watching. Better than the street, right? Come on." Without waiting for a response, she turned and took off down the alley, dragging Steve along. They weaved through the darkened streets, their footsteps muffled by the damp pavement. The air felt thick and heavy, pressing against them, reminding her of how trapped they truly were. Every corner held the possibility of lurking dangers, shadowy figures waiting to pounce. When they finally reached the crumbling facade of the bookstore, relief flooded her for a split second before reality crashed back in. The door hung slightly ajar, creaking ominously as they nudged it open. Inside, the smell of old paper and dust filled the air, a comforting yet eerie sensation. Shelves loomed like sentinels, casting long shadows in the weak light filtering through the grimy windows. They slipped in, closing the door softly behind them, hearts racing in unison. "Where do we hide?" Steve hushed, glancing around nervously. He stepped deeper into the musty space, breathing heavily. "Over there." In the back, Charlie pointed to a dim corner where stacked boxes created a sort of makeshift barrier. To her surprise, the moment she indicated it, the fluorescent light from the street flickered and dimmed, as if fitting into their fear. As they squeezed into their cramped hiding spot, Charlie felt the adrenaline ebb for just a heartbeat, only to be replaced with a gnawing suspicion. She turned toward Steve. "You have to tell me what's going on. Why do they know us? What did you do?" Steve's gaze shifted and his jaw clenched tight. "It's complicated, cut the crap. Tell me now before it's too late," she hissed, the edge of her voice cracking slightly. He took a deep breath, eyes darting nervously around the dim space. "They're not just after me. They think I have something important. Something valuable. What could that possibly mean? What did you get us into?" Panic shrieked through her voice, but Steve hushed her urgently. "Just listen. There was money involved, a lot of money. Money I thought was gone forever. But it's not. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to drag you into this." Charlie closed her eyes, absorbing his words. "Why now? Why can't we just leave it behind?" At that moment, a noise cut through the silence, a soft rustle from outside. Then the unmistakable sound of footsteps crunching on gravel. "They're here," Steve breathed, his face pale with fear. "Shush," she urged, grabbing his arm again. The seconds dragged as they listened. Footsteps grew louder, a chill washing over her as the unmistakable voice of the woman pierced the air. They're close. We just need to find them. Charlie felt her pulse in her throat, panic resurfacing like an anxious tide. What do we do? Suddenly, a beam of light flickered through the bookstore's window, illuminating the dust particles hanging in the air, transforming their haven into a trap. A wave of dread flooded Charlie, but amidst the chaos, resolve hardened within her. Stay quiet and trust me, she whispered, even though she felt the uncertainty gnawing at her. With a sudden rush of determination, she peered around their hiding place, searching for a way out. But with every passing moment, her instincts screamed that this was just the beginning of a much darker reality. Could the truth about Steve and what they were running from be far worse than she imagined? As the light flickered over her face, she braced for whatever was coming next, aware that the hardest decisions were yet to come. Would she discover the depth of his betrayal before it was too late? Charlie held her breath as the light swept through the musty air, momentarily illuminating the shadowy space where they crouched. It flickered above them before disappearing again into darkness, and every heartbeat felt like a countdown. The tension wrapped around her throat, tightening until she thought she might choke. Steve's eyes were wild, reflecting fear and regret in equal measure. What are we going to do? He whispered, his voice barely above a breath. The woman's voice drifted closer, heavy with a predatory calm. Oh, I know you're in here. You can't hide from me forever. I just need a little more time. A cold chill threaded down Charlie's spine. Time. They were running out of it. She scanned the dim shelves, hoping for some sort of weapon or escape route. A fraying rope dangled from the ceiling, likely part of an old display. She reached for it instinctively, but her fingers trembled. Charlie, please. If we could just shut up. She snapped, her mind racing. Panic clawed at her insides as she realized their options were dwindling. The truth about Steve's past loomed ominously between them, but right now they needed to focus on survival. The faint crash resounded outside, and the door to the bookstore rattled violently. Had the woman found them? Charlie flinched, heart pounding, as rusted hinges groaned under the force of a push. This was it. They had to move. Follow my lead, she whispered, pulling Steve up. They slipped out from the boxes just as the door pried open. With a quick glance, she saw the outline of the woman silhouetted in the dim glow of the main street. Now, she hissed. They darted deeper into the bookstore, past shelves filled with dusty horror novels and forgotten histories. The shadows danced around them, and Charlie could hear Steve's panicked breathing behind her. They ducked behind a massive display of encyclopedias, their hearts racing like wild horses. Why wouldn't she just go? Charlie murmured, glancing back at the door. Her mind was whirling, trying to piece together the consequences of Steve's secrets, the dangerous web he had led them into. The woman stepped inside, her silhouette creeping along the wall like a predator stalking its prey. Come out, wherever you are, she taunted, a sickly sweet undertone in her voice. Stay quiet, Charlie urged, pressing her palm against Steve's mouth to silence him. The sound of their breaths filled the dark space around them, mixing with the woman's soft footsteps. Then, as if sensing something, the woman halted. She turned her head slightly, her eyes narrowing. I can smell fear, she whispered, a chilling grin creeping across her face. Fear and desperation. You're not getting out of this. Charlie's heart raced, dread pooling in her stomach. Just as she thought hope was slipping away, she spotted a window behind them, dark and dusty but slightly cracked. It was their escape route. Steve, she said urgently, gesturing toward the window. He nodded, understanding the plan. They needed to get out now. Together they crawled back through the maze of shelves, silently pushing aside old books, their eyes trained on the window. No. The woman's voice echoed, sharp and menacing as if she had read their intentions. You think you can just leave what's rightfully mine? Charlie's chest tightened. What was rightfully hers? Was it Steve? All those frantic moments spent on the run flashed back to her. A whirlwind of decisions wrapped in the thorns of betrayal. With adrenaline pulsing through her veins, they reached the window. On three, she whispered. 1, 2. Before she could say 3, Steve shoved the window open, sending a flurry of dust into the air. They scrambled outside, tumbling onto the gravel below, but their freedom was short-lived. Steve! Charlie shouted, her heart lurching as she saw him stumble. What's wrong? He turned, eyes wide and terrified. I don't know where to go. We're finished. That S when they heard it, a low growl emanating from the shadows, a sound that made the hairs on Charlie's neck stand on end. She's not alone, Steve murmured, realization dawning. Then we have to run, Charlie urged, adrenaline pumping through her veins again. Now. But as they took their first steps into the night, the growl morphed into laughter, chilling them to the bone. Let us see how fast you really are, the woman's voice echoed behind them, a reminder that this nightmare was far from over. They bolted down the street, hearts racing and breathless, but with every step, the fraying threads of trust began to unravel. How much longer could Steve keep running from his past? As shadows closed in, Charlie knew one thing for certain. They were entering a game far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. What other secrets lingered in the night, ready to claim them? They sprinted down the narrow street, the gravel biting into their feet, the night air thick with fear and urgency. Charlie's mind was racing, each thought colliding chaotically with the next. What had Steve done to lure them into this nightmare? Was it really all worth it? Behind them, the woman's laughter rang out like a dark symphony, echoing off the brick walls around them. You can't hide. I'll always find you. Keep running, Charlie urged, glancing over her shoulder to catch the glint of the woman's eyes in the darkness. It sent a jolt of terror through her. They rounded a corner, breathless, coming face to face with an abandoned alleyway choked with debris. It looked like a dead-end trap, but there was no time to think. They darted inside, hoping that the shadows would provide them some cover. Why is she doing this? Steve gasped, leaning against a crumbling wall, trying to catch his breath. I don't know, Charlie replied, frustration bubbling up. But I'm not about to let her catch us. You have to tell me what in the world's going on. As he spoke, a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. I swear, Charlie, I didn't know this would happen. I was just trying to what? She snapped, each word punctuated by her racing heart. Be a hero? This is insane. We're being hunted because of something you have tied to her. Wait, Steve said suddenly, his eyes widening. I think I left something behind. Something she might want. Charlie stared at him, dread creeping into her bones. What? What did you leave? He took a shuddering breath, glancing around as if the shadows were closing in. Something that could reveal her secrets. She's been using me and now she wants me to pay. Before she could respond, the low growl returned, echoing ominously from the alley entrance, growing louder, its origins obscured by the darkness. Panic seized Charlie's chest. We have to move. Now. They stumbled deeper into the alley, the past catching up to them like the shadows of the night. They needed to buy time to confuse their pursuer. Charlie pressed her back against the wall and listened as the footsteps grew faint, the tension palpable in the air. Here, Charlie whispered, spotting a rusting dumpster. Get inside. Steve shook his head, dread tightening his features. No. She'd find us. She'll find us anyway if we don't hide. We are running out of options. With a reluctant nod, he climbed into the dumpster first, stifling a groan as he landed in the heap of garbage. Charlie followed, the smell overwhelming but preferable to the woman's wrath. They sat in silence, hearts pounding hard against their ribs, listening to the echo of footsteps fading in and out. Just when they thought they might be safe, the woman's voice called out again, this time from within the alley. Do you think you're safe in there? I know you're in there. I can feel your fear and soon you'll wish you had just given up. A shiver ran down Charlie's spine. She could hardly breathe and the stench was suffocating, a constant reminder of how dire their situation was. As the footsteps drew closer, Charlie whispered, What did you do, Steve? What's in it for her? He hesitated before finally revealing in a hushed tone, I borrowed money from her. But she didn't just lend it. She tied our lives together and now she wants something more. More? Like what? A sudden shout echoed, shaking the dumpster. You're not getting away from this. You owe me. Charlie's heart thundered. They had to escape. It felt like the walls were closing in, and even in the shadows, she could feel the woman's presence closing in on them. Without warning, the dumpster lid rattled and creaked under the pressure of the woman's hands. Charlie! Steve cried. Panic forced him to grab her arm. We need to jump out now before she can. But before they could react, the lid burst open, and two piercing eyes locked onto them. Surprise! The woman sneered, her face twisted with dark delight. Did you really think you could hide? And just like that, everything they had tried to escape was upon them. Run now! Charlie screamed, adrenaline flooding her limbs as the woman lunged for them. They tore out of the dumpster, the weight of their past clawing at their heels. But what awaited them in the night was yet to be seen. With their hearts racing, they stumbled into the street, desperate for salvation. But what lay ahead was a choice. A bridge leading to safety or an unmarked clearing foretelling something darker. All at once, the laughter returned, sharper, more menacing. You chose wrong, my dear. Charlie's voice trembled. What did she mean? What was I supposed to choose? The night just grew darker, and Charlie realized they might not escape this time. How deep did Steve's web of lies run? With each step forward, she felt the weight of secrets not her own pulling her down. And before she could comprehend their next move, headlights illuminated the road, blinding them with sudden light. Get in! A car shouted, options closing in as chaos swirled around them. Choices lay before them like a knife's edge. But could she trust another voice in the night? Do we? Charlie gasped, heart pounding. The choice loomed. One direction promised a shred of safety, while the other spun them deeper into the clutches of the night's dark secrets. Do we take the chance? Charlie whispered. But the answer was forever lost as the woman's silhouette approached again, ready to collect what she sought, with everything at stake. The weight of decision pressed heavily on Charlie's chest. The car's headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the fear on her face. She was frozen, caught between survival and the unknown. Get in! The voice urged again, more frantic now. A shadowy figure bore down on them, panic swirling like a storm. Charlie exchanged glances with Steve. His face was a mask of desperation. She could feel his grip tightening, as if he was silently pleading for her to trust him, to trust the car. But the woman's presence loomed larger than ever, her chilling laughter still echoing in the night. Do we? Charlie's voice trembled, barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly would lure the darkness in closer. Charlie, we can't stay here, Steve urged, shoving her gently toward the open door. The fleeting flicker of a chance glimmered in his eyes. We don't have a choice. If we stay, she'll get in. The voice was more frantic now, desperation threading through it. Just then, as if on cue, the woman let out a bone-chilling cackle. Oh, how fun! Forever running. You think you'll escape me? You're already mine. Charlie felt the ground shift beneath her, panic welling up as if to swallow her whole. They needed to act, but every instinct shouted caution. Heart racing, she made a split-second decision. We go, she yelled, jumping into the passenger seat without looking back. Steve was right behind her, slamming the door just as the woman's figure erupted from the darkness like a nightmare made flesh. Drive! Charlie screamed at the driver, who seemed unfazed, focused on the road ahead. The engine roared to life, wheels spinning like their fate, a blurred line between safety and demise as they sped into the night. The driver's face was partially veiled in shadows, but Charlie caught a glimpse. An intense gaze, one that pierced through her mounting panic. Where to? He asked, the urgency in his voice a mix of adrenaline and determination. Anywhere but here, Steve shouted, glancing back. But the woman was relentless, her silhouette blending with the night as she pursued them. An impending doom that refused to be shaken off. The darkness outside felt alive, filled with unseen dangers that loomed just beyond reach. Charlie felt the air thicken as the laughter surged. You think you can escape the past? It never really leaves, you know. Charlie's heart raced again at the words, a chill creeping through her. What does she know? She whispered to Steve, panic tightening her throat. What did you do to her? Steve's silence spoke volumes. Sweat dripped down his brow, and guilt flickered across his features. I didn't mean to get us into this mess, he stammered. What mess, Steve? What does she want from us? It's more complicated than I can explain right now. His eyes darted to the rearview mirror, dread washing over his face. The car swerved as the driver tried to evade an unseen danger. Hold on, he shouted. The vehicle jolted, tires screeching against the asphalt, creating an awful chorus that echoed their dread. There's a fork up ahead, he called out, glancing at the road splitting into two diverging paths. Left for the freeway, right for the docks. Which way? Charlie pressed, her heart pounding louder than the revving engine. The weight of choice loomed again, and the wrong call could seal their fate. Docks, Steve suddenly urged. We might lose her down there. Are you sure? Yes. Trust me. In a quick moment, the driver veered right, speeding toward the docks that loomed like a ghostly portal waiting for them. The woman's laughter rang like a siren, sharpening with every moment, pushing them deeper into the nightmare. Charlie felt gut-wrenching anxiety clawing at her conscience. You better not be wrong, Steve. The driver skidded to a halt, tires screeching as he turned toward them. This ain't over. We need to find somewhere to hide. As they exited the car, the taste of salt water mingled with the air. But fear plunged her heart further down. The open dock stretched before them, shrouded in darkness, the occasional silhouette of a boat swaying ominously. Suddenly, a scraping sound echoed behind them, a reminder that the woman was closer than they thought. They turned, a heartbeat away from panic, as the sound grew louder. Where do we go? Charlie gasped, a lump forming in her throat as she searched for answers. A flicker of movement caught her eye at the edge of the dock, a shadow shifting just beyond view. There. She pointed, urgency pushing her forward. With a deep breath, they took off, racing toward the deeper shadows, each step filled with uncertainty. The woman's laughter echoed louder, a sinister promise tracking their every move. As they ran, the night enveloped them, but all Charlie could think was, what awaited them in the shadows? What horrible truths lay hidden behind the next corner? And in the distance, as they plunged deeper into darkness, a new voice emerged, a grating, familiar sound that sent ice through her veins. You're mine now, all mine. What secrets would they uncover next? In the darkness of the docks, Charlie felt her heart pounding faster with every step. They stumbled forward, the looming shadows closing in around them like a beast waiting to pounce. The laughter, sickening, chilling, trailed behind them, mocking their desperate flight. Over there. Steve pointed toward a shadowy boat. It looked abandoned, but maybe, just maybe, it was a sanctuary amidst the chaos. They rushed towards it, their breaths quick and shallow. Will this even work? Charlie gasped, anxiety clawing at her throat. Just trust me, Steve urged, but doubt gnawed at her. Trust? At this point, she was grasping for it like a lifeline amidst a storm. Inside the boat, everything felt disordered. Life jackets lay discarded and fishing gear tangled in a mess. It was a far cry from safety, but the ongoing hunt demanded every ounce of courage she could muster. Let us hide, she hissed, pushing behind a pile of gear. There they huddled in silence, the faint sound of water lapping at the boat blending with the ominous laughter echoing from the docks. The familiar voice haunted her thoughts, intertwining with the weight of Steve's hidden past. Do you think she has gone? Steve whispered, his voice tremulous. That question hung in the air, thick with desperation. What if she knows we're here? Stop! Charlie snapped, darting a glance at him. This is your mess. You need to tell me why she's after us. He hesitated, guilt spilling across his features. I didn't intend for this to happen. It started with that loan. I thought it was a simple favor. Until I learned she was involved in something much bigger. When I tried to back out, she threatened me. Then she set her sights on you, on both of us. Her heart sank further. So this is all about money, Charlie whispered, the anger bubbling just beneath her surface. She wants the codes, Charlie. The codes that could unravel everything, he replied, panic tightening his voice. But I thought she had forgotten about it, that it was buried deep enough. What kind of power are we talking about? Just how deep did your lies run? Charlie's heart throbbed with a mix of betrayal and fear. But before he could respond, another noise cut through the darkness, a ripple of footsteps drawn closer, commanding and ominous. Get behind something, she urged, voice barely a whisper. They crouched deeper into the shadows, her pulse drumming in her ears as the footsteps grew louder. Where are they? The woman's voice sliced through the night, dripping with malice. I can smell you, I can feel your fear. Charlie squeezed her eyes shut, willing herself to be invisible. But the sensation was suffocating. Fear anchored her heart deep in a pit of dread. Then the footsteps stopped. A shadow flickered outside the boat, and Charlie's breath caught. Playing hide and seek? You always were a coward, Steve. Charlie's gut twisted. She knows you, she hissed. Damn it, I told you to stay quiet. He snapped, panic gnashing within his voice. Suddenly, the woman leaned closer, her silhouette blocking out the faint light. Charlie could see the glimmer of her eyes, dangerously gleaming like a predator dissecting its prey. I can hear your heart beating, she purred. It's truly delightful. Enough games. Charlie shouted suddenly, defiance bursting to the surface as she surged forward, adrenaline fueling her rage. What do you want from us? Is it really that complicated? The woman smiled, teeth sharp as knives. Power, dear, and you are just a tool in this dark game. What game? Steve demanded, emerging from the shadows. I'm done playing by your rules. Are you? Her laughter echoed, rich with sinister delight. This is my game, Steve. You should have thought twice before you tried to walk away. Now you'll pay in blood. Charlie felt ice creeping up her spine. They had to get out of here. Run! She yelled, pushing Steve as she bolted for the exit. He followed, unsteady but fueled by instinct. Grabbing her hand, they took off, the night swallowing their screams as they raced back to the open docks. The woman's laughter echoed behind them like a specter, a reminder of the peril still lurking in every shadow. You can't escape me, child. I will find you. Racing down the empty pier, Charlie felt the cold bite of the wind whip through her like blades, stinging her skin and driving her determination. They reached the end, breathless and desperate. Where do we go? Steve panted, eyes wild with regret. Back to the car. Charlie shouted between breaths. There has to be a way to get away. Not with her here. She has eyes everywhere. His voice broke. They turned, nearly colliding into the figure now standing at the other end of the dock, blocking their way. It was a man this time, tall, menacing, arms crossed, a wicked smile curling his lips. Did you really think you could run? Steve! Charlie yelled, panic rising like heat waves. What do we do? Fight! He shouted back, grasping her tighter. He pushed forward, determination flashing in his eyes, but fear paralyzed Charlie. I'll protect you. Get away from her, the man sneered, advancing. Just as Charlie's heart sank deeper, the distant sound of sirens broke the night, snapping them from their trance. We need to disappear. Charlie pulled on Steve to flee again. This may be our only chance. Go! He shouted, driving her forward as they sprinted toward the car. The sirens growing louder and closer. They reached it, a fleeting hope amidst the chaos. Get in! Charlie yelled, fumbling for the door as they scrambled over each other in a mad rush. Start the engine. The driver's face was grim, serious. I don't know if we'll make it. There was a beat of silence before the engine roared back to life. The woman's laughter faded, but the man remained at the shot of the dock, watching like a hawk. Go, go, go! Charlie urged, backing as far as she could, the weight of her decision pressing heavy. With a sudden burst of courage, the driver slammed on the gas, wheels spinning against the gravel as they veered away. The world blurred past, each movement erasing the shadows of the night, the haunting laughter fading into the distance. Just as freedom washed over her, Charlie clenched her fists. What lay ahead was uncertain, filled with a darkness still waiting to reveal its hand. Steve, she said, voice steady despite the fear surging through her veins, we have to confront this once and for all. I can't keep running from the truth. Yes, Steve replied, remorse threading his voice. No more secrets. Not now, not ever. And as the car sped into the night, determination surged within Charlie. There was a cost to every decision, and now the time had come to face whatever shadows lingered ahead. The night stretched endlessly before them, but within her, a flicker of hope ignited. They would fight to uncover the truth together, no matter the danger that loomed. The battle for their lives and their past was far from over. And now Charlie felt ready. She would no longer let fear dictate her course. She was done running. Together they would reclaim their futures and unearth whatever darkness awaited them. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, they would embrace what was next head-on. They were about to step into a world where the truth was as murky as the waters of the docks. But whatever came, they would finally face it together. And as the headlights pierced the unyielding darkness, a single thought echoed loudly in their hearts: this was just the beginning. If you're with Charlie and Steve on their journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. Only true fans understand the importance of standing by this community.